Welcome to Lead to Succeed, a podcast where you hear first-hand leadership stories, tips and hacks to enhance your career and life. Lead to Succeed is brought to you by Zahi Abdin and Usama Al-Musa.
Welcome to Lead to Succeed. Today we're gonna have our second part of our interview with Tracy Sinclair. So we're looking forward to it. Usama, welcome back, and another exciting interview.
Hello, Zai. Great to see you.
So.
Yeah, it was very interesting, the first part of it, and it was also interesting our introduction for the first part around change management and how
Indeed
to navigate change. Yeah, and today as well, let me share with you those 3 tendencies that leaders might have when they navigate changes.
Okay.
One of the tendency is leaders might fall in a trap of thinking like magical thinking and thoughts about the past. So we look in the past and see how great it was, things were moving smoothly, things are in order, and then why should we lose that? The other tendency is around catastrophizing. So we think of the future and the worst case scenario, what's bad that might happen, which also a way of putting the leader in a situation of feeling reluctant, hesitant, and fear and anxiety around change. And the third tendency is, and all are natural, we're human beings, anybody will face this. And the third one is to avoid coping. Much of the changes will be associated with requirement to do something different, to have a competency that you didn't used to have, or you use a skill that you didn't used to use. And then those will put the individual or the leader in a climate where they will be challenged. Negative sensations and feeling of aches and pain might be associated with those. Consequently, we avoid those feelings and we stay away from changes.
Absolutely, and a lot of time change causes anxiety and fear and so forth. So there's so many different ways to handle that. As you know, if we're glorifying the past, I think probably the best way to deal with it is that situational awareness, having a broader and more comprehensive view of the past, because sometimes it's good, sometimes it wasn't good, but we just glorify it for one reason or another. Another thing, we can anticipate the future. If we're afraid of the future, we try to have some anticipating. We can envision the future in a different way than what's in our mind, just to try to eliminate that fear. Thirdly, in my opinion, of course, looking at it in an objective way. We just change the way we look at things, reframe the way we look at things in a more objective way. So,
great tips, Zai. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's go to our second part of our interview with Tracy Sinclair. Let's do it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Like you mentioned, our region, we're seeing similar cases like you are in Europe. I think it's like a bubble that's about to burst. I mean, we have the pool of coaches is growing by the day, and I do agree with you that at a certain point, people's gonna start looking more and more into qualification, to credentials, experience, and so forth. And which brings me to my next question about your experience in the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa. What kind of work have you done? What's your perspective? We would like to see a little bit of outsider's view on our region. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I guess from the MENA perspective, I've got two main kinds of experience. One is having worked in the area, in the region, from a leadership development perspective, when I had my broader leadership development business, and I used to travel quite a bit for some client work in financial services in MENA. Then my other experience is more from the coaching perspective, but more specifically through my ICF role and my relationship with some of our community, now colleagues in MENA in that regard. What I notice is abundance and potential for growth. You know, I think that MENA as a region in this area is rapidly growing and diversifying. I think it probably wasn't so many years ago that coaching would have been a relatively new concept, but it's very, very quickly taking off. And I think that, and, you know, both of you will obviously have far more on the ground knowledge about this than me, but from my outside perspective looking in, one of the things that I notice is that quite often when a region or an area starts to adopt something, initially all of the support and the resource for it comes from outside. You know, you're hiring in coaches from overseas, or you're hiring in trainers from overseas because the capability and the experience is not there locally. And so there's an enormous reliance on people bringing that into your area. But what I've noticed most recently and rapidly is how the region is taking it within itself, you know, and which is, of course, the way things need to be, where we have local expertise, local coaches, local trainers, local chapters, local groups. I mean, the growth in all of that within MENA is really quite incredible. And I can only see that continuing, really. And what's important about that, I think, is that you make it your own, because although coaching, you know, I guess we have a global definition of coaching and we have a global set of consistent standards and things like that. But at the end of the day, the way we communicate is different, isn't it? In each language, in each culture. And it's important that the way coaching is experienced and that exchange happens is congruent and sensitive to that local area. And so I think it's fantastic that to my observation seems to be happening really quickly in MENA. And one of the things again, it's just my observation, one of the things that I feel that has facilitated that has been the collaboration in the region. You know, is obviously you're a region with a collection of different populations and countries like any other region, but I've noticed a very high level of community within the region and not just separate areas. And that to me, I think, has been a mark of the pace of adopting this and progressing and accelerating.
Thank you. Very interesting. And we see the emerging trends in the region that you're talking about. I want to give a context before I go into that question, which is around some professions. Those are the professions that regulated. So the profession itself regulated is different than the professions where it's or where the associations themselves regulate for their own members or credential. You know, it's different for physicians or engineers. So the profession itself is regulated. Here in coaching, we see that the good reputable associations worldwide, they are into regulating for their own. This industry still did not reach that level of regulating the profession. And awareness and differentiation, awareness for the community or organizations, public will be great to help the ones who will benefit from the service to be able to do their choices. And also differentiation for coaches and those professionals who are working in this profession. It's good the more they do in terms of what you've just mentioned about the standards, and make sure of always being upgrading in terms of competencies and skills. And here, if you give some tips, recommendations for HR professionals, for learning and development professionals, and talent management professionals, or even the coaches themselves, what recommendations will you tell them?
Well, I mean, we're already seeing, I think, coaching being embedded into leadership development programs and things like that. So that's a good thing. I think one of the challenges, however, with that is twofold. One is that the coaching, what is provided is called coaching, but isn't necessarily coaching. And I think that's one of the challenges that we still live with across the world, of there is not still a common understanding and a global understanding of what coaching is, even though we might like to think so because we're immersed in it. You know, I don't know about you, but I still come across leaders and organizations every week that don't actually know what coaching is. And they either know that they don't know, or they think they know, but it's actually something else. So I think one of the things that would be useful is to really be clear that it's actually a coaching conversation that is going to facilitate the longer term impact of a leadership development program, rather than something like facilitating workshops or mentoring them, which I'm not to say that those things aren't hugely valuable, because of course they are, but the actual purer way of working in a coaching style, I think, is still something that we could probably do more of. The other element of it is that I would say, like any form of development intervention, often with leadership programs, for example, coaching is only offered while people are on the program. And as we know with many training interventions, if you don't have some kind of follow-up, then the value cascades very, very quickly, and what you've invested is lost, or largely lost. So I think how can we make coaching more of a thread rather than just something that is defined within this package almost? How could it become a bit more of a thread, I think, would be useful. And then back to the point earlier of how can we get to the stage where the people that are providing that coaching are sufficiently skilled in providing those services. And I still, I notice this myself, that within leadership development, there are still many leadership development consultants, for example, who will now call themselves coaches, but they've never necessarily had any specific training as coaches. Now, that's not to say that they might be doing a fantastic job, but having that rigor of the training, I think, and the qualifications, I think, will help to underpin the integrity of the work that is done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zahia. I leave it for you. I know we're very curious to know about your experience in writing a book, and Zahia as well. He said, yes, I'm very curious to take this over. So it's to you, Zahia.
Yeah. Knowing that you've written a book, I've always been fascinated by authors. So I would love to learn a little bit more about your journey. What was your journey? How was it? What value did it add to yourself, that the way you probably see the world or think about coaching in general? I would love to hear more about the book and about your experience and journey. writing or co-authoring this book?
Well, I smile because it was a bit of a roller coaster, actually. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm so pleased that I did it, and I feel very proud of the piece of work. I'm very honoured that I was asked to do it, which is how it started, actually. Jonathan Passmore asked me if I would co-author the book with him. Which is, you know, I'm still very appreciative and honoured that he would ask me to do that. And the excitement and the high of writing the book is equally balanced by some of the pain that I experienced in the journey as well. You know, I don't know if writing a book is like giving birth to a child or something, but there's some pain involved, let me tell you that. But it's good pain, because one of the things that was wonderful about it was how much I learned as part of that process of writing it. And so the intention really, I think, was partly to bring something to people around the updated core competency model, because obviously that is almost about to come into fruition live, as it were, around the middle of this year. And so we wanted to create something that would help people to navigate that and get to grips with it straight away. And we wanted to provide a combination, in a way, of a book that really put the ICF core competencies in the foreground to give people a really strong understanding of it, but in a practical way. So the idea was that there are lots of examples or anecdotes or stories or analogies to try to help bring it to life. And then the other part of that is to also give people a flavour of some of the psychology, the coaching psychology that underpins why those competencies are there and why they work, basically. And then the last part is a very practical element of, you know, some tools or techniques that people can use. So that was the sort of the theory behind the intention for it. I loved writing it sometimes because it did enable me. It's a hugely immersive thing to do, and I'm sure anyone else who's ever written a book will be nodding their head to say, you know, you can't just sort of sit down, or at least I couldn't just say, oh, I'll write for half an hour. I mean, it had to be a whole day for me, and I'm probably quite slow because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and so it would take me forever just to write a chapter because I would go over it over and over and over again. But the benefit of that was it really helped me, first of all, to remind myself of basics, to stop me from becoming complacent or, you know, doing things where perhaps you've got into a bit of a bad habit. So it re-grounded me back into the profession that I'm, you know, seeking to do. But it also helped to advance my own learning, because by grounding yourself back into those things and then reading and researching around the topic was enormously developmental for me. In fact, I was doing my mentoring for my MCC to apply for my MCC at a similar time to writing the book. And I would definitely say that writing the book helped with that process because I was just really engaging in that learning. So it's a great thing to do. They say that everyone's got a book in them, don't they? I don't know if that's true or not, but that was my one. I don't know if there might be another one. Who knows? I've got a few thoughts and ideas on some things, but it was a really good exercise, but one that I probably naively underestimated in terms of just how much of your energy and your time is needed. A lot of time.
So what would be your advice to those who are thinking about writing a book or co-authoring a book? What would your advice be? don't do it, right?
No, I would say do it, but also be realistic about it, because I don't know, maybe some people have other experiences. They say sometimes someone can write a song in about 2 minutes flat, don't they? So maybe you could write a book in 2 days flat. I don't know. That wasn't the case for me. So I think my advice would be, if someone is inspired to share something and to make a contribution, then absolutely, I think it's not, part of coaching is expression, isn't it? Expression and meeting our potential. So it wouldn't be great, I think, if someone didn't allow their book to come out, if that's what they wanted. But I suppose the advice would be plan and be realistic on timelines and the approach, because I'd never engaged with publishers or looked at publishing contracts or what the process is for writing and editing and publishing. So I think just understanding that a little bit up front can help to manage your expectations. But definitely go for it.
Tracy, it's very enjoyable and very enriching to talk to you. And we're very respecting to your time and your other engagements. We know how busy you are. And again, thank you for allocating this time for both of us, Zahir and myself. So while we're concluding this call together, let's go somehow personal, if you're okay, into you have great accomplishments so far. So what are the good qualities that brought you here? And when you think of the future, what are the good qualities that you will depend on?
I think one of them is commitment. Actually, is if I'm either in or I'm out. So if I say I'm going to do something and I commit to something, like the book, even though it might have been painful, or like serving the ICF or whatever it is, is I will do what I've said I'm going to do. And I think sometimes, in the face of adversity, when we're challenged, it can be easy to just lower the bar and say, okay, I won't bother, or it doesn't matter. And that's not usually my style. If I say I'm going to do something, then I will follow through and I will do it by hook or by crook, as we might say. I think the other thing that I have is I'm a very easily interested person. So I'm generally, and this can be a fault as well, so I'll just balance that off, but I can very easily get enthusiastic about lots of things. So I've normally got quite a lot of projects on the go, because I have a huge belief that, our life is a gift and I don't want to waste a drop of it. And so I like to be active and I like to engage in whatever I can, so I'm quite an involved person. And that's also, I think, can be a strength, in that I will bring an energy to something, and an enthusiasm to something. And then maybe the last thing is I do care. I genuinely care that what we do, does make a positive difference. And if I think many years ago, my dad taught me that we don't ever know quite what's going to happen to us in life or afterlife even, but if we can do the best we can each day, then that's a good life. So I think that is a strength that keeps me going sometimes, when things are a little bit tough or whatever, is I just think, well, I'm doing the best I can today. Today I might do better, or tomorrow I might do better.
Thank you for this wisdom.
Well, Tracy, those are good qualities to have. And it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for taking the time. Usama, any final words?
Thank you, Tracy. It's awesome. Yeah, really awesome. And we, on a personal note, we really appreciate what you're doing for this profession and how much you're passionate for it and you're giving for it and that you're making your best for the profession. So we appreciate it. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for your time.
And
thank you. It's my complete pleasure. It's a delight to talk to both of you. And I also appreciate you inviting me to do this, and I appreciate what you're trying to do by these podcasts, and these messages. This is a contribution, isn't it? And I'm just very honoured to have the opportunity to talk to you, albeit in this setting, and somehow we're together.
Yes, we are. So Tracy, thank you again. And if our audience would like to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, so I've got, very happy for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. My website is quite straightforward. It's tracysinclair.com, so quite easy to find me. And my email is very similar, tracy@tracysinclair.com. So I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and those things. So I don't think I'm too difficult to find. And if I can be in service of anyone, then I'll do my very best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, both of you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Tess. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Toolbox segment of our podcast. Great second half of the interview with Tracy. What do you think, Usama? What were highlights for you?
Yeah, it was very interesting as well, very enriching. My take home was related to coaching and the regulation, and then consequently there is much of supply. And then my recommendation here as well for those who are watching us, listening to us from different professions, especially the ones who are dealing with learning and development, to be picky in terms of how to select their coaching program, how to select a coach. Differentiation here is a key. One of the elements to look at will be the coaching competencies. Another element is to look into the coach previous history, the CV, the profile. That is an added, much of added value. We know that we're not in a position to tell what to do or to use our own experiences when we're coaching someone. But think of it this way: how much the participant, the client, will benefit and have the right mindset of being very receptive when they see that the coach has success record in what they used to do. When the coach has an industry, the language, the understanding of the client, it adds a lot to the acceptance and the coachability level of the participant.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think moving on forward, competencies, quality of coaches is going to be more important than ever. Coaching. I love when she said that coaching is going to be, it's a turning point also. She said that in the first half of the interview. She emphasized on it again. Coaching was a turning point. Coaching has become more important than ever in this pandemic, and a lot of change is going to happen. We'll see how it goes. So looking forward to it. We'll see how this journey is going to take us. Yeah. So great second half interview. Loved Tracy. She's done a great job. So looking forward to meeting her again and having another conversation with her again.
Sure, hopefully. Thank you, Zahid.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this episode, give us thumbs up, give us follow us, give us 5-star ratings, and until next time, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful evening.
See you. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Lead to Succeed podcast. If you like this podcast, please remember to give us 5 stars ratings and share it with your family and friends. Also, please follow us on social media and send us your ideas, suggestions, or questions. You can find our contact information in the podcast description. This is Zahia and Usama, and until next time, make sure to remain authentic, keep learning, and enjoying life.